Welcome to The Explainer. Let's just dive right in, because today we are conducting a full-on tactical autopsy of a truly historic moment in football. We're breaking down Portugal's dramatic 1-0 World Cup defeat to Spain. This was a match that didn't just eliminate a massive tournament favorite, it literally brought the curtain down on the international era of Cristiano Ronaldo. We're going to look at the tactics, the frankly shocking managerial decisions, and what all of this means for the legacy of one of the game's absolute greatest players.
Okay, I want to start you off with a staggeringly huge number, 27. That represents the total number of World Cup appearances made by a 41-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo across this incredible two-decade international career. I mean, it's a total Iron Man statistic, but it came to a screeching, heartbreaking halt, ending in tears as he walked down the tunnel after the final whistle.
Now, right after the dust settled, Ronaldo kind of grounded the raw reality of his exit with this really poignant quote. He said, "My conscience is clear." He fully acknowledged this was his final World Cup and emphasized that he gave absolutely everything to the cause. It's bittersweet, right? We're essentially watching an aging legend grapple with the fact that, well, Father Time is completely undefeated, no matter how desperately you chase that one final prize.
Section 1. Tears at the final whistle. A stagnant stalemate.
So, to really understand the tears, we have to look at how the match actually played out. Because this exit, it wasn't some blaze of glory. It was an agonizingly slow, stagnant, 90-minute stalemate. Actually, a lot of analysts called it one of the most boring games of the entire tournament. The two teams essentially just canceled each other out in this highly technical but ultimately toothless chess match that was only shattered by Mikel Merino's run behind the defensive line in the 90th minute.
Ronaldo himself actually assessed Spain's winning goal by saying it came a little bit by chance. And honestly, while it might have felt kind of lucky in a game that was totally devoid of clear-cut opportunities, it was undeniably the definitive blow that sent Portugal packing. But the real question we need to ask is, why was Portugal so vulnerable to a single late strike in the first place?
Which brings us to Section 2, Martinez's tactical paralysis, the unmade substitutions.
This is where things get really baffling. There was a massive disconnect between the attacking tools manager Roberto Martinez had available and the decisions he actually made on the sidelines. Look, he had Gonzalo Ramos sitting right there on the bench, a young, super dynamic striker who literally just scored the winner in the previous round against Croatia. Yet Martinez left him sitting there for the entire match. Instead, he kept a 41-year-old Ronaldo out there for the full 90 minutes, even though he was clearly struggling for pace and offering zero threat in behind the Spanish defense. Martinez made 5 substitutions, and not a single one of them changed the central attacking focal point. The pundit criticism on this was absolutely blistering. Analysts were arguing that Martinez managed this crucial, high-stakes knockout game like it was a Ronaldo testimonial match. It felt like a decision made for the legacy of an individual rather than the betterment of a national team trying to win the World Cup. Years ago, the previous manager, Fernando Santos, proved he could make the ruthless call to bench Ronaldo when the team needed it. Martinez, on the other hand, showed this extreme unwillingness to make that same big decision, and by refusing to adapt, he essentially facilitated Portugal's failure.
Section 3. A midfield disconnected. The domino effect.
This managerial inaction on the sidelines caused a massive domino effect right on the pitch. Walk through this chain reaction with me. Step 1. Because Ronaldo just couldn't provide the pace to run in behind the defense, there was zero threat to stretch the field. Step 2. Spain's defense knew this, so they comfortably squeezed the game and played a much higher defensive line. Which leads to Step 3. This tactical squeeze completely suffocated Portugal's elite midfield of Vitinha, João Neves, and Bruno Fernandes. It totally neutralized their space and forced them into endlessly passing sideways.
I mean, without a dynamic presence making those darting runs, this midfield was just paralyzed. At their club levels, places like Manchester United or PSG, players like Bruno Fernandes are famous for whipping these visionary, first-time passes around the corner to fast forwards. But here, because Ronaldo was constantly dropping short to receive the ball, those exact same elite midfielders were forced to take extra touches, which effectively killed their own attacking momentum.
All right, Section 4. Spain's flawed possession game. Slow and sideways.
Now look, it takes two to make a stalemate, right? Spain definitely wasn't perfect either. They essentially canceled Portugal out with a lazy, slow passing possession game that totally lacked teeth. They just kept rotating the ball slowly in this big arc around Portugal's defense. They had absolutely no physical presence in the box. Mikel Oyarzabal was practically having a cup of coffee outside the penalty area instead of penetrating it, and Pedri actually had a remarkably poor game, just passing sideways. Spain was only bailed out at the very, very end when substitutes Ferran Torres and Mikel Merino finally made direct runs into the box.
So what you really should take away from this is the analyst's dire warning for Spain moving forward. If they play this slowly and predictably against a fifth-gear team with elite pace, like specifically pointing to France, their defense is going to get absolutely cooked. You simply cannot leave your wingbacks exposed when you're facing world-class rapid attackers. Spain survived this round, for sure, but their blueprint looks incredibly vulnerable.
Finally, Section 5, Legacy and Unanswered Questions, the Aftermath.
The immediate fallout from all this saw Roberto Martinez step down from his position as manager. Now, despite the heavy tactical criticism we just walked through, Ronaldo actually came out and offered high praise for Martinez. He called him a great coach and wished him well, which kind of proves that the respect between those two remained fully intact, even in the face of this huge elimination.
And man, that brings us to the legacy of the player himself. What an incredible two-decade World Cup journey it's been. It started way back in 2006 with a fresh-faced 21-year-old making his debut and helping drive Portugal all the way to the semifinals. It peaked with these unforgettable moments, like his stunning 2018 hat-trick against Spain, and it concludes here, in 2026, with a tearful exit, officially closing the book on an astonishing 27 World Cup matches and 11 goals. You really just can't avoid the defining contrast of our footballing generation, can you? It's inescapable. Ronaldo's World Cup legacy ends absolutely loaded with individual records, but ultimately marked by tears and the absence of that ultimate trophy. On the flip side, his historic rival, Lionel Messi, ultimately reached that summit with his 2022 championship triumph. It's a contrast fans are going to be debating for decades.
But Ronaldo was quick to defend his monumental contributions to his country, and honestly, he's totally right. As he pointed out, before him, Portugal had 0 major international trophies. 0. With him, they secured 3 massive titles, the 2016 European Championship, which he says he holds in just as high regard as a World Cup, along with the 2019 and 2025 Nations League titles. His impact on elevating Portuguese football is absolute, and it's undeniable.
Which leaves us with one massive provocative question. Ronaldo said he wouldn't make any rushed decisions in the heat of the moment regarding a total retirement from the sport. So as we wrap up this explainer, I leave you to ponder this. Does this heartbreak signal the absolute end of the road, or does the ultimate goal scorer have enough fire left in him to go chase that mythical 1,000-goal milestone in club football? I guess only time will tell. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time as we continue to break down the most fascinating stories in sports.